and repeat 22, 6 sewing ends and fasten off. There we go. Hi everyone, this week I'm going to be showing you how to make a crochet pencil crayon. Okay, so for this tutorial we are going to need, you can use any yarn that you like pretty much, and you can use any hook size suitable for the yarn that you're using. But the colours you're going to need, and these are all DK light worsted weight yarns, that's a yarn weight of 3 if you want to use the same. But you're going to need a rubber colour for at the end, so I've chosen a pink, and a little bit of gold trim to go underneath the rubber part, and then you need your pencil crayon colour, and this time I'm going to do like a purpley pink colour, then a little bit of white for the end and a little bit of black for the actual crayon part. You may actually prefer to do that in the same colour as your pencil crayon, that's up to you. And with that I'm going to be using a 3mm crochet hook, but like I said, you can use any yarn and hook size suitable for the yarn that you're using. And you'll need a pair of scissors, and you're also going to need a yarn tapestry needle as well, and you're also going to need some toy stuffing like this, but you can also use yarn scraps instead if you want, so for stuffing your little pencil crayon. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so we're going to start off at this end, so I'm going to take our pink yarn, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a chain 4 loop. And you can swap the chain 4 loop for the magic circle if you prefer, that's fine. So we'll do our little slip knot, and then we're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 4, and then we're going to slip stitch into our first chain. So put your hook into your first chain that you did. Bring the yarn through the first chain, if I can get it, through the first chain, then bring it straight through the loop on your hook. That creates a little loop, a chain 4 loop joined at the beginning and the end, and in the middle is a little hole. Don't confuse it with your first chain hole, which can look quite big. You need to find that center hole. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little chain 1. I just don't count that as a stitch, I just do that for a little bit of leverage. Chain 1. Then putting your hook into the center of your 4 chain loops. So find that center hole there. Not this first chain, but the actual center hole. There we go. Bring the yarn through. Grab the yarn, bring that through the middle. Okay, so you've got 2 loops. We're going to do a single crochet. So this pattern's in US terminology. So yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, do a single crochet. We're going to do 6 single crochet into the center of this 4 chain loop, just wrapping it around the chains. So I'm going to put our hook back into the middle, bring the yarn through, do another single crochet, 2. We need 6 of these, so another one, 3, another one. You can see the center hole gets bigger the more that you do. It should get more noticeable. 4, and another one, 5, and one more, 6. So you're just wrapping it around those chains. You've got 6 single crochet, and if you've gone into the center you should be able to pull that tail end a little bit to bring in the center. Like I said, you can do the magic circle instead if you prefer, and just work the 6 single crochet into the magic circle. But then what we want to do is find our first single crochet that we did. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Find that first single crochet and put your hook into there under both bits of yarn, like so. And bring the yarn through there and straight through the loop on your hook to do a little slip stitch to join the round. Okay, so by the end of that round you should have a stitch count of 6. Okay, so moving on to round 2, we're going to do a little chain 1. Again, don't count that as a stitch, just there for a little bit of leverage. Then put your hook back into the same single crochet you just slip stitched into. So this one here, the one you just slip stitched into, go back into there. We're going to do 2 single crochet in there. So 1 single crochet, and we go back into the same stitch again and do another one. So we've got 2 in there. Okay, so you've got 2 single crochet in there. We're going to do 2 single crochet into each stitch around. So we're going to double our stitch count up from 6 to 12. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 2 single crochet. 1 and another one in the same stitch, 2. Okay, so you've got 2 in there, 2 in the next one. So that was, we've got 4 so far, so 5 and 6 in the next one. 5 and another single crochet in the same stitch, 6. 5 and 6 in there. Then the next stitch along, 7 and 8. It's 2 single crochet in there, 1 and another one in the same stitch, 7 and 8. 7 and 8, then 9 and 10 in the next one, so 2 single crochet in the next stitch as well. 9 and another one in the same stitch, 10. Then 11 and 12 in that last one. 11 and another one in the same stitch, 12. Okay, and this is probably where you get tricked a lot of the time. It looks like there's 1 stitch left, but that's actually a fake stitch. It's because we worked into that first one we slip stitched into. That is your slip stitch, so that's technically on top of your first stitch, so it's the same stitch. So what we're going to do now, check your stitch count is 12, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Find that first single crochet that you did, put your hook into there, put your hook into there, and do a little slip stitch to join the round. And by the end of that round, you should have a stitch count of 12. Okay, so moving on to round 3, what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 1. Again, don't count that as a stitch. I'm going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch around, and we're going to start in that same stitch we just slip stitched into. So go back into there and do 1 single crochet. And we're going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch around, and we're going to keep a stitch count of 12. So single crochet in the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to do that for 3 rounds. Okay, 3 rounds of just chain 1, don't count that as a stitch. Do 1 single crochet in the same stitch you just slip stitched into, and do 1 single crochet into each stitch around, keeping a stitch count of 12. I'm losing my voice, so I shall do that and then I shall come back and then slip stitch in your first single crochet at the end to join the round. Okay, so 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Okay, so I'm just going up to the last stitch on the 3rd round, and I've just done 3 rounds of just 1 single crochet in each stitch around, chaining 1 at the beginning but not counting it as a stitch, and then slip stitching into that first single crochet to join the round. So you should still have a stitch count of 12, but on the very last round actually we're not going to yarn over with our pink. We're still going to put our hook into that first single crochet to join the round. Instead of yarning over with the pink, we're going to yarn over with our yellow. Okay, so I'm just going to put that over the hook instead. Just hold that in place and bring that through the first single crochet and then straight through the loop on your hook, okay, to join the round. And now we're working with our trim colour, so this colour here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little chain 1. But don't count that as a stitch. A little chain 1. And we're going to do 1 slip stitch into each stitch around this time. So starting in the same stitch we just slip stitched into, go back into there, and this time we're going to do a little slip stitch. Let's bring the yarn through and straight through the loop on your hook. I'm going to do 1 slip stitch into each stitch around. Okay, 1 slip stitch into each stitch around. That's the beginning, keeping a stitch count of 12. Okay, so just go Coming up to the last one, just worked one slip stitch into each stitch around. Okay, so it looks like that. And then when you're back at the beginning, you skip your chain one, find that first slip stitch, and just behind there, what you want to do now is something a little bit different. First thing we're going to do is cut off our pink. So I think that's what we'll do. Cut off our pink. So we've finished with our pink, and we're going to tie our, let's bring that up a sec. We're going to tie the tail end of our pink and the beginning end of our yellow together. Keep that secure. Just pull that nice and tight. Do a double knot. Okay, and then I'm going to just put those tail ends, my very beginning pink tail end, on the inside. So they're out of the way. Okay, but what we want to do here is find that first slip stitch that you did. It's not the chain one, the first slip stitch. But instead of slip stitching into there to join the round, you want to find the stitch behind that you actually slip stitched into, and it should just literally be behind your slip stitch. So there's your first slip stitch. Just behind there, should be quite obvious, is the stitch that you worked into to do that slip stitch. We want to put our hook into there. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit tricky. So what you might want to do is bring up a loop, so it's easier to move your hook. And then just put your hook back into there. And because it's been worked into once already, it should, if you don't have a camera in your way, be able to get it back in there. Okay, so put your hook into that pink stitch again, the first one. But instead of yarning over with the yellow, we're going to introduce our pencil colour. So in this case, I'm using a purpley pinky colour. So I'm going to tail end over my hook into there. Just hold that in place. Bring that through that stitch. Okay, and just want to pull that tight, and then bring that straight through the loop on your hook to join the round. Okay, and then you can cut your yellow as well. Finish with our yellow. Okay, so we get the pink and the yellow, and now we're working with our pencil colour. And the first thing to do is a little chain one, just to secure that. Okay, just pull that tight. Okay, so a little chain one. Then we're going to do one single crochet into each stitch around, in these pink ones though, and not the slip stitch. So what you want to do is go back into that stitch again. So you just need to find that slip stitch, little pink stitch behind. Go back into that stitch again. And that's going to be your first stitch. Okay, let's go back into there again and do one single crochet in there. I'm going to do one single crochet into each stitch around, but in the pink ones. Okay, they should be fairly easy to go into because your slip stitches have already opened them up a little bit. Okay, so do one single crochet into each stitch around on these little pink ones, keeping a stitch count of 12. Okay, so I shall do that. And then we've got 1, 2, 3. You can always count as you go. 3, 4. Okay, it's going back to the beginning. 10. Almost at the end. 11. And the last one, you may need to just pull your pink stitches down to find that last one. 11 and 12. Okay, so just make sure you've got a stitch count of 12, and then we're just going to slip stitch into our first single crochet. So don't confuse it with your chain one, that's actually your chain one. So there's the first single crochet. If you're not sure, you can always count backwards. Slip stitch to join the round. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to pull that up, and I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the lighter pink. I'm going to find a tail end and my beginning purple end. wherever that's gone, and tie those together. This just helps secure the yarn into place on the inside, in case these crayons get played with quite a bit. There we go, do a little double knot. I always do this at the end rather than the beginning, because at the beginning it might pull your new colour out a bit. So okay, and then hide those tail ends on the inside as well, and you should have something that looks like that. Okay, so these stitches here, these dark purple, should be worked into the same stitches as your slip stitches, so don't work them into the slip stitches, work it into the pink. So you're technically working into those pink stitches twice. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we are going to do basically one single crochet in each stitch around for how many rounds is that? That's for 13 rounds I did. So we've already done one round already. So I'm going to do 12 more rounds of just doing chain one single crochet each stitch around, slip stitch in your first single crochet to join the round, and I'm going to do that for another 12 rounds. Okay, so you're keeping a stitch count of 12. Okay, so you chain one, and I'm just going to work into these stitches as normal now, starting in the one you slip stitched into, and do one single crochet each stitch around, slip stitch in your first single crochet to join the round, and chain one at the beginning, and do that for another 12 rounds, or however long you want to make your pencil. Okay, so I shall do that, and then I shall come back. I'll just show you as I'm working on these rounds that these would also make great, if you turn them upside down, great little finger puppets. You can use the lighter pink at the end, put little faces on, or do all sorts of little characters in any colour you like, and you've got great little finger puppets. Anyway, let's carry on, because this is going to be a pencil crayon. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the last few stitches on the last round. So I've done 12 more rounds of just chain one single crochet in each stitch around, and then slip stitching into your first single crochet at the end, keeping a stitch count of 12. Okay, so I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet, but instead of yarning over with the purple, I'm going to yarn over with our white colour at the end. So let's find our white. Wait. Okay, so it's going to place that over a hook, bring that through our first single crochet and straight through the loop on our hook. Okay, now we're working with our white, and we can trim off our pink and finish with our pink. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to just okay, what we'll do first, we'll do a little chain one first, just like all the other rounds. Do a little chain one, okay, and we can pull that tight. Okay, I'm just going to bring that up slightly, put this down, tie these two tail ends together. Make sure you do that after your chain one, otherwise it will pull your loop in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stuff our little pencil crayon. So double knot those tail ends, put those on the inside, and then we're going to take some toy stuffing and stuff our little crayon. And I find it easier to use some fairly blunt scissors. My scissors are quite blunt. If you've got sharp scissors, be careful. And then just use these, because the metal helps push the stuffing into the pencil. So I'm going to stuff the pencil, and then I'll come back and show you how to finish it off. Okay, so I've finished stuffing the pencil for now. I'll just stuff it a little bit more right at the very end. But with your white, we've done a little chain one. So what we're going to do now is just do one single crochet into each stitch around, starting off in the same stitch that you just slip stitched into. Okay, so I'm going to go back into there. And do one single crochet. I'm going to do one single crochet into each stitch around, keeping a stitch count of 12. 2, next stitch 3, and the last one 12. And then slip stitch in your first, skip the chain one, slip stitch in your first single crochet, just like before. Okay, so still got a stitch count of 12. But what we're going to do now is we're going to just decrease. And to do that, we're going to chain 1. Then starting in the same stitch, just slip stitched into, put your hook into there, bring the yarn through, but stop and go into the next stitch as well. Bring the yarn through. So you've got 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops to single crochet 2 stitches together. We're going to do that all the way around. We're going to reduce our stitch count from 12 down to 6 again. So then go into the next stitch, bring the yarn through, stop, into the next stitch, bring the yarn through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, single crochet those 2 together, and the next 2, next stitch, bring the yarn through, stop, next stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through all 3, next 2, so the next stitch, bring the yarn through, stop, so the next stitch, bring the yarn through. If you find this a little bit fiddly, you can swap down to a smaller hook, which might help. Next 2, next stitch, bring the yarn through, stop, next stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through all 3. Then we've got 2 left. Sometimes help to flatten your work. Next stitch, bring the yarn through, stop, and then into the last stitch. Careful to come out through the middle. Bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then we find our first single crochet 2 together. So there's our chain 1, skip that, find that first single crochet 2 together, put your hook into there, bring the yarn through, do a little slip stitch. Okay, so your stitch count has now gone down to 6 and should look a little something like that. And you may just want to bring up your yarn and add a little bit more stuffing. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit more stuffing. Okay, push that right down for now. I'll sort out the shape later. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 round of just 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So I'm going to chain 1. Again, don't count that as a stitch. Going back into the same stitch you just slip stitch into, so that first decrease, and do 1 single crochet. We'll do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, okay? So keeping a stitch count of 6. So that's 1, next stitch, 2, next stitch, 3, next stitch 4, next stitch 5, and the last one 6. I always count so you know where you're at the end. Then skip your little chain 1, find that first single crochet. So it always helps to find that little V and then the stitch is just above it. Don't confuse it with this little fake stitch there. So find that first single crochet and put your hook into there. Instead of yarning over with the white, we're going to yarn over with the black to finish off. So take our black and just put that over our hook and bring that through. A stitch straight onto the slip stitch, and now we're working with our black, and we can, if we do a chain 1 to begin, don't count that as a stitch. I know black is a nightmare, it's even worse than white to see on camera. I'm just putting my tail ends. I'm going to cut the white, finish with the white, it's fallen on the floor. Then do a little chain 1, bring the loop up, and then we're going to tie these ends together. Make sure that you do your chain 1 before you tie these ends together, otherwise you will lose your loop. So we'll pull it through, pull that nice and tight, do a double knot, and hide those tail ends on the inside, these 2. Okay, and then when they are hidden on the inside, we're going to put our hook back into our black, And we're just going to finish up with doing, we've done our chain one already, we're just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch around, starting in the same stitch you just slip stitched into. So count 6. So 1, next stitch 2, next stitch 3. And like I said, you may wish to, rather than using black, you may prefer to use the same colour as your pencil crayon. 4, 5, and the last one 6. Okay, and then if you can, find your first single crochet that you did and slip stitch into there, if you can see it. I know you really can't see it on camera. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut our yarn and leave a little bit for sewing, just a little bit, and just pull that yarn through. Then get your yarn needle, and we're going to drawstring it closed basically. So I'm going to go into, I know you can't see these stitches on camera, but I'm going into the next stitch and out through the next stitch. I'm just going to sew the remaining gap closed. Even I can't see these stitches, so I'm going to, in this light, so I'm going to guess. And just sew round like a drawstring to into the next stitch, out for the next, until that you get a nice little point to the end, and the end hole is closed. Then I'm just going to go into the next stitch and out through the top, and I'm going to just shape this a bit better to even out that stuffing, get it back down to the end, and I'm going to go back in for the top and basically hide my tail ends. So I'm going to come out through a stitch, and as you come out through the stitch, just don't pull too tightly on this end, just let that just come in, otherwise you'll lose your point to your crayon. And go back in where you came out, come out somewhere else for a stitch. That should disappear on the inside. And one more time, go back in where you came out, because it all catches on the stuffing on the inside. Come out for another stitch. That disappears on the inside. And then I'm just going to refocus. So I'm going to push my project down and just holding the tail end fairly tight, I'm going to trim as close as I can to my project as I'm pushing it down, and then when I let go, that should just disappear on the inside. And there we go, there is our finished pencil crayon, and this time we have a pink coloured one that can go with our blue one. So there we go. And I hope you managed to follow along. I've been losing my voice a bit in this video, so I do apologise. But I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial, and like I said, check out my website for lots more free crochet patterns, and I will see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.